What's up, guys? Welcome to the first ever episode 163 of the Kind of Funny Gamescast. As always, I'm Tim Gettys, joined by one of the coolest dudes in video games, Greg Miller.
Brap. We're still taking it back.
Oh, I love that. And another one of the coolest dudes in video games, Jared Petty.
Doki doki.
Doki indeed. And joining us for the very first time in the show, a very special guest, the Senior Manager of Publishing and Developer Relations and face of the Nintendo Nindies Showcase.
Nindies.
Damon Baker.
Damon Baker, yay!
Oh, thank you. If you're the Doki Doki, I'm the Panic.
Oh, okay. Excellent.
Oh, I love that. Damon, thank you very much for joining us.
Of course.
We first met at E3 last year.
Yeah.
At
Way
Rooster
back.
Teeth.
We go so
yeah,
far
we go
back.
so far back. And it was fantastic because we were catching up and talking, and I realized that you're essentially the Gio Corsi of Nintendo, which is great because our audience
Loves Gio Corsi.
Big fans of Gio Corsi, him coming out, supporting all the smaller
He is a
titles, the
champ,
indies
yeah.
and stuff. And, seeing you do that for Nintendo has been really interesting and cool. And I was a huge fan of you when you did the first Nindy Showcase video last year.
I'm blushing. Thank you very much.
Because I thought it was really cool that there was kind of a face to the Nindy line and to all that stuff, and the way that it wasn't a Nintendo Direct, it's kind of its own thing.
Yeah.
And the reason we have you here today is because there was just the latest one, the Spring 2018 Showcase, and we got to play a bunch of the games at GEC.
Excellent.
So we're gonna talk about all of those. But ladies and gentlemen, this is the Kind of Funny Gamescast each and every week right here on youtube.com/kindoffunnygames. We get together and talk about video games, all the things that we love about them. You can get the show early by going to patreon.com/kindoffunnygames, where there's a pre-show, a post-show. You can watch live right now, or you can get the show early every Friday. It goes live to everyone else on Monday on youtube.com/kindoffunnygames. Either way you listen or watch, you can listen on podcast services around the globe, including Spotify. We appreciate it very much. Thank you guys for everything. But I want to get right into the show.
Thank you. That was my question that I wanted to get into. As the LaCroix expert, what was your takeaway from him grabbing a peach pear?
Well,
Did you hand that to him?
So here's the problem: is Cool Greg is the guy that gets all the LaCroix and puts them in the fridge.
Yeah.
We're running low on options right now for cold LaCroix.
Gotcha.
If you want warm LaCroix,
okay.
you got every
Go on the
colors,
running options.
Colors of the rainbow going on. But I had to give them the offer of some of my less favorite of the flavors. So I'm sorry for that.
No,
But
it's very gracious. Now, full disclosure, I did ask which one is your favorite. I didn't want to hog all of your favorite
and I
LaCroix.
appreciate it. He was like trying to take the hit. He's like, you know what? I'll take whatever you don't want. And I'm like, dude, I want it all. I'm just addicted at
That's
this point.
chivalrous. What is your favorite?
Passion fruit.
Passion fruit? Yeah.
There's another 600 cases coming your way.
Yeah, I know. Let's go.
I just want to interject for a second.
Yes,
And
go.
Okay,
just
hold on.
inform
I'm sorry. Kevin Coelho from kindoffunny.com. You have a question?
I just want to inform you guys that we are on purpose trying to get a mix of flavors gone, so that the last 6 months isn't just stuff that we hate.
Well, just
appreciate that.
Keep feeding me apricot and peach pear, and I'm good all day.
Do we need a challenge of how many of these I can get through over the course of this next hour?
Oh,
No.
trust me.
You will lose. Whatever you do, Tim will at least double.
Just naturally.
He'll also at some point silently get up and leave to go pee.
All the time. So Damon, what's your life been like the last 2 years with the Switch? Because you used to do marketing at Nintendo for a long time, even during the Wii U time. When did you start doing that?
Well, my time at Nintendo started almost 12 years ago. I started off heading up the brand licensing program. So basically anything with Mario's face on it, I was licensing that, on T-shirts and toys and stuff
Cereal.
like that. That was the lull between cereals was my era.
dark times, we call them.
Yes, exactly.
Before you move on from that, actually, if you don't mind, what is the most interesting place you've ever found Mario's face?
We did have a line of underwear.
Oh, wow.
That had certain innuendos affiliated, be like a coin block and it'd say I'd hit that. It was very tasteful, very popular, but there was some interesting.
Can I still get
Mario
those
stuff.
underwear? Because I would get those underwear.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'd wear those too.
We'll dig through the archives and see what we have available.
what
Small size you got.
So I was doing that for a few years, and then Steve Singer over at Nintendo of America took over the licensing program. Originally, I was working with Gail Tilden, who had been with the company for a really long time. She started up Nintendo Power. She was really affiliated with the start of the Pokemon program over there. So speaking with her, I mean, you were mentioning Link to the Past. Oh my God! Like when I first started there, just geeking out with her over old Nintendo Power issues and the sweepstakes and the giveaways that they used to do, and the maps that I wore out by opening and closing the Dragon Quest map over and over and over again to find out where I was supposed to go next.
Yeah.
So geeked out with her for ages over there. When she retired, moved over to Steve Singer's team, and they made a position for me to head up marketing for third party. They'd never really had that type of focus before, and that was in the Wii days. So riding that tremendous wave at that time, so getting to work with like EA on the Tiger Woods program, which was awesome to get him like swinging a Wii remote for the first time, and that you could actually kind of live out that real world golf fantasy that I'm sure everybody has. But it was crazy. So got to do marketing, and along that time, started working really closely with indie developers that were coming over during the Wii days, during the DS days, then onto the 3DS, and then onto the Wii U. And that's when we started really pushing that in a bigger way, because we were seeing so much excitement and new ideas and risk taking from the indie community to do new things with like the hardware that we had. So that was a ton of fun. But in the last couple of years, as your crack research team has found out, I kind of transitioned into this new role. Again, kind of starting up a new team that was focused on account management. In the past, it was always everybody kind of used their own connections within the third-party team at Nintendo, and that's how we were driving a lot of our business. So I was asked to help centralize that for North America and work with major publishers, but also kind of rally the troops around the indie program. And that has been a ton of fun, and driving that Nindies program. It's super cheesy, but it's also the community, the indie developers have kind of all embraced that as a badge of honor. They all share the information, they share their experiences, and there's a lot of pride in being affiliated as a Nindy these days.
What a dream come true, I'm sure. I mean, everybody grows up playing Nintendo, right? Everybody wants to get their game on a Nintendo, and I think for a long time it seemed like that was hard to do. How do you do that? PlayStation, Xbox, we're very vocal, and this is how, and like what you're doing now, and not to mention the runaway success of the Switch, and every story I hear of like, it sold more copies on the Switch than any other platform combined.
Yeah, we love that. We send lots of cases of LaCroix to those people. But it's a dream come true, because growing up playing games in general, but especially being a Nintendo fanboy, it was really fun to be able to work with these developers, and you can see it in their eyes. It's not just talk to exploiting a system or exploiting an opportunity. These are people that grew up, that playing these games and these systems has been fundamental in the development of their own careers, and it makes you, man, it's infectious. It makes you want to try that much harder to make sure that they do well on the platform. And so
those are sirens in our world, not your car. Don't pull the car over.
Well done.
If I say something wrong, then those sirens will go off, and Reggie will be in the car
Punch through the wall.
Was that restructuring and that team creation tied to the Switch, or?
It was specifically in preparation for what we were anticipating with Nintendo Switch. We knew that there was going to be a warm reception, but we also knew that the Wii U was a really tough system for a lot of our third-party partners. We had some advocacy there, but it was tough, tough to develop for, tough to have that breakthrough in terms of audience reception. Tough to actually message what it was, and from the very beginning with Nintendo Switch, we knew exactly what it was. We could explain it succinctly. We could say, yes, this is a console experience that you can take on the go. And from the very beginning there, it was just a much easier proposition to be able to rally the troops and get people on board with it. So that's been fun. It's fun to see positive reception for it, for sure.
What was the internal process like going from the WiiWare and DSiWare days and through Wii U and into now Nindies being such a cornerstone of the business? What was the internal process like for that? How did that narrative evolve within Nintendo?
It's interesting. The evolution from each of those generations, I mean, you guys are probably familiar with Dan Edelman. He was on board and we were working really closely with him. He was instrumental in really creating this program from the beginning and driving it. The process, though, with Wii and with DS is that there was a different model where Nintendo actually controlled the release dates and the pricing of all of that digital content. When we transitioned over to Wii U and to Nintendo 3DS, we opened up support for self-publishing. And we really wanted to encourage this larger development community to be able to go out there and to really dictate, the way that their games should come out and give them that flexibility. So we had to create a lot of new programs from scratch in order to allow that to happen. It's why with the Wii U and with the 3DS, we've got an open dev environment. So anybody can apply, anybody can actually develop for those systems. You just have to register and you get access to dev kits and you can plug away with it. With Nintendo Switch, we decided to go with a closed development environment, mostly because of demand. At the very beginning, we were having trouble keeping up with producing hardware, dev kits, all of that kind of stuff. Also establishing a new infrastructure around new hardware takes some time. So we decided to be more particular about the type of content that was coming in, but still relying on those relationships that we had established from the previous generations to really build a really good foundation and a good place to start. And so far, it's been a ton of work, and I can't believe that it's only been a year because it feels like it's been a decade. But like in the last year, it's just been such a warm reception for that type of content coming over to the platform.
Like, it's interesting to me with, a huge Nintendo fan I have in my entire life. I know, it's crazy. Who would have thought? But I am also a big fan of their marketing and specifically of the directs and how they do them. I've been a fan of the directs since they first started, but kind of seeing them evolve over time has been really interesting. And I feel like the Switch has been such a shift in how Nintendo not only talks about its products, but the way that things like release dates are announced or just trailers are revealed. And even just having different names for Nindy Showcase versus Nintendo Presentation versus Direct Mini versus Direct. Like, I like that there's kind of just different like buckets that these things can be dropped into. Yeah. And I also love the speed at which where it's like, we're not wasting time. Like this new showcase that just happened was
my God. Blink and you miss it, man. We raced through like 14 titles in like 10 or 11 minutes. It was crazy.
And it's like, so what's kind of the methodology behind separating those things differently? And like, how in charge are you of kind of just making sure that what goes into direct, like why does Travis Strikes Again go here versus there?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I can say that it's not any one person's decision. I mean, it's constant communication globally with our head office in Japan, NCL, and then also our European division, NOE. And just kind of putting all of our ideas together in terms of here are the cool things that we know about. These are the different messages. Some may be higher profile. Some might be things that are like under the radar, but deserve to get a bit more visibility and awareness. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting because we have all of these different brands. I think what I do worry about is that everything kind of gets lumped into this very accessible idea of Nintendo Direct as a video. But there's really only technically a certain number of Nintendo Directs that are ever produced because they're a different way that they're made, a different production value, and different types of content that goes into it. So what I'm just really happy about is to have more and more opportunities to promote all of this content to as wide of an audience as possible. And I think the Nintendo Directs really started by Nintendo seeing that we could actually control a message. We used to do the press conferences at E3 every year. but you always run the risk of there being a technical malfunction or something.
Controller isn't being read right, so then the
Yeah.
game doesn't look the way it's supposed to, and everybody freaks out online.
Totally. It's
Some
almost
guy
like that's
drumming
happened
like
before.
this, and it's a gift.
Surely not, Robbie.
I don't know what you're talking about. But it's, there's a lot of risk, especially in terms of leaks and all that kind
Yeah.
of stuff. You know, it's having this high production value video that is come together, that can be planned out in advance, that confidentiality can be ensured around it, and you can make something really special and relevant for the people tuning in, and you can reach more people around the world. It takes a ton of work to coordinate all of those efforts.
To make sure nothing
worldwide.
goes wrong and it goes, yeah.
But it's worthwhile. It's pretty cool.
So from those videos, from the directs or the showcases, whatever they are, there's usually the trailer videos will go up, and as a frequenter of Reset Era and other forums, like it's always a big deal when people are like, oh my god, this YouTube video is breaking records for Nintendo or whatever. Like, do you guys look at that? Like, do you look at how many views the YouTube videos are getting?
There's a lot of analysis and comparing how different things have performed versus other, and always looking at how we can improve that or what works, what doesn't work. Maybe especially with a global focus. We've done a lot of experimentation in terms of what time we go live. Because with a time here on the West Coast in North America, it has a different implication in terms of when that is going live in Europe and when that's going live in Japan. So I think we've played around with a lot of stuff. There's a lot of experimentation. I personally am always looking at the forums and seeing reaction, even though I shouldn't be. I remember back in the day, like one of the first videos I did, I made the mistake of going on to NeoGAF right afterwards, and somebody wrote like, this guy looks like a thumb. And I'm like, the first image I had in my head was of Spy Kids, like the bad guys. And I'm like, oh man, like I gotta step up. But I mean,
I gotta stop looking like a thumb.
I know, exactly. So I mean, there can be distractions and everything, but I think the takeaway is we're always taking a look at what's going on. And I think one thing, at least in my department and on behalf of third party, I mean, we're always looking at what the fans are saying and the audience reaction, media reaction to things, and using that as something to build towards the decisions that we're making for the future as well.
Something all platforms, I think, are grappling with right now is discovery. With a surplus of product and new games being developed constantly, especially in the independent spaces. Curation and discovery is a challenge. And I like popping into my Switch every week and finding such a wide assortment of new games. But I wonder how Nintendo plans on dealing with discovery in the coming years, especially when it comes to the Nindies and your role in that.
Yeah, it's a really good question. I mean, it's definitely front of mind, both for an on-device experience as well as off-device. So, we hope that most of our fans are going to the eShop every single week to see what's new, but we can't rely on that either. So, yeah, I mean, there are a lot of discussions going on internally, and we're looking at how we can improve different processes both on and off device. But the things that we can absolutely control is the cadence of messaging that's coming out and the more videos that we can do. I mean, personally, I don't want to have to wait like every 6 months in order to do another big Nindy announcement. I feel like we've got so much great content coming out on a regular basis that we can be putting out different ways of making announcements, a much more regular basis. And so a lot of things are being worked on at the moment to kind of address the fact that there's so much great content coming over. We have a responsibility to help people find it.
Well, what I loved about what you guys have been doing, and even I'm talking about like weekly releases, not just like these giant events, is the fact that you're putting out such a breadth of content that when it goes out, like, I walked around the Nindy showcase at GDC this week, and it's totally one of those things at a glance. I can identify the games that speak to me, go play them, and then talk about them. But then when Brian Altano from IGN walks in, he sees different things in those games and goes play something different than I do. And even though every week it seems like there's 18 games, every Thursday on Kind of Funny Games Daily, I'm like, well, there's 11 Switch games. If I don't say a platform, it's only on Switch. that's happening, but since so many people are using the system and are jumping in there and are playing stuff, they're finding new games that I don't think you'd normally hear about. But they're finding what they like and then talking about it, and you're seeing it spread still. To lead back to this is selling better than any other platform. This is outselling everything because there's still a hungry group there, and since so many people are excited about it, they're actually involved with it.
Yeah, it's really nice of you to say that. We're trying really hard to make sure that there's a breadth of content. There's a variety of things, that there really is something for everyone in there. And we're also really fortunate that there's such strong word of mouth too. Because it's one thing, I mean, I could go out there and say, you should play this game, but who's going to listen to this schmuck? You know, but if your friend tells you that you should go and play this game, you're going to trust their opinion. You're going to at least check it out. You know?
Absolutely.
And it was that thing, it was you this week, I want to say in games industry, but someone, or no, it's Kotaku, asked you about the top 10 selling Switch indies, right? And you put them up there. Oh,
SteamWorld Dig 2, Stardew Valley, Kamiko, Celeste, Fast RMX, Golf Story, Enter the Gungeon, Overcooked, NBA Playgrounds, and Shovel Knight Treasure Trove.
And that's such a diverse selection of games, right? And it's not, if you were to ask me and I started rattling off, I think I'd miss a lot of those. Like, Enter the Gungeon is awesome. And it's rad that it's found an audience on Switch, let alone one that big.
Yeah.
What's cool to me, though, is looking at this list, I can identify why I think it made the list. And a lot of it goes back to the way that it was shown off in the different showcases, or things like Celeste. It is the word of mouth. Fast RMX being there early.
Golf Story,
Kamiko,
we were all crazy for.
Golf Story, and that was totally from the showcase, where it's like when it's put next to other games that you've heard of, like SteamWorld Dig 2, and that you're excited for, like, oh, if I know the quality of this game, the things around it are probably somewhere close. And I think that it's interesting to see things like Kamiko that came out at a time when people are just like, I don't know what the hell this is. I haven't heard it talked about anywhere, but it's on the eShop and I want to give something a shot.
Yeah, and I love that they're side by side with other games that may never make this top 10 list, but that are totally worth your time, and that they're allowing you to go, oh, this is their next, what is that? Something like Blaster Master Zero, which is, probably never going to be a top 10 seller, but somebody put way too much TLC into, and it's just delightful.
Yeah.
I love that game.
Yeah.
And it's just superb, and there's a lot of that in there. I am an old Nintendo complainer from their virtual console days, when it went from 5 to 4 to 3 to 2 a week, and I was like, no, where are my games? And I love that there really is more this, we're just going to give people a chance to like lots of different things and land in their niche and be okay with that. I am enjoying this approach. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you. I can't take credit for all of it, but
just do it. Just take it. Just say it's all you.
But it's been a tremendous team effort, and it really warms my heart to see people so receptive to it. It's really nice to see.
Again, as somebody that is addicted to video game forums, especially the pre-hype cycle going into directs and things, and seeing everybody get excited about stuff and kind of predict what might be there, what they hope is there, and all of that. When it comes to the Nindy showcases, like especially the summer one last year, because GDC last year, there was the first spring one, and that was even before the Switch came out, where a lot of the indies were announced, and that was really exciting because there were some big ones there. But it wasn't until the summer one that we got to see, like, oh, we're getting SteamWorld, we're getting like a lot of these big indie games that people were hoping for. Rocket League was one of them that wasn't there yet, but then at E3 that was announced. For this indie thing, we were doing a predictions episode on, I think it was us two, on Games Daily last week. Yeah. And I couldn't really, I'm like, well, they kind of got a lot of the big indie games that are possible. And it's like, what is going to be that thing? And I like that we're at a point now where, there's things like Banner Saga that gets announced, but it is just like, oh, here's a lot of stuff that you've never heard of. And they're cool.
Yeah, exactly.
What's the mentality of Nintendo now in terms of, is it about just let's get the game on the system, or is there a focus on we want it to be an exclusive indie, or a focus on it doesn't need to be exclusive, but we want an exclusive feature, or first on Switch? Like, where's the priority?
I have different opinions than other people do on this. I think the exclusivity message is something that's easy to rally behind. It's easy to identify as that being a point of differentiation. So it's easy to go, hey, look, these are all exclusives or have an exclusivity window, and so we can all lump them together. I don't put as much value behind exclusivity, at least in terms of indie content, because these guys have to make business decisions that are right for them. And to strong arm them into committing to just one platform when they could be coming out on all platforms at the same time, it feels unfair. So I like the first reveal messaging, and that's what I really like to get behind is if we can be the first platform announcing a title, then automatically
People associate it with that.
exactly. But you're not putting that developer in a difficult position. So my level of priority there is more on the first reveals, and that's why you see in the Indie showcases there's a huge focus on this is the first time this has been announced or confirmed for Nintendo Switch. I think the thing that we can do a better job about is then closing the loop on the titles that we've previously talked about. So every one of these Indie showcases, it's about announcing what's new, what's coming out in the future. And we're trying to be better about these are the titles that we know are supposed to come out within the next 3 to 6 months. Sometimes that gets bumped out. It's indie development, but yeah, that's almost like a bad word at this point. But I think, but to that point, it's also, it seems like a great opportunity for us to then go back and close the loop on something like a Pocket Rumble and work with Chucklefish and see, how do we announce when it's going to be coming out and why people should be excited about the amount of time that it's taken to get here. So I personally want to look for more of those types of opportunities to provide more regular updates and because when I look at the forums, the anticipation for something like an indie showcase is awesome, but a lot of the asks are like, it's for us to close the loop. It's like, okay, we want an update on what you announced 6 months ago. And we have such precious time to work with. We want to focus on those really cool reveals that maybe you didn't even know you wanted. Yeah.
So like a lot of people in the audience, I'm pecking away at a pretty good demo. And one day I want my finished demo and all its glory on Switch.
Yep.
How do I, as a dude coding in my garage, make that happen?
Yeah. So right now I mentioned we have a closed development environment, but we accept pitches. And my team and we're looking at, we actually manually go through all of the pitches that are coming through. I mean, and it could be, on average, it's probably around 50 a week that we're getting. Sometimes it's much more, sometimes it's a little bit less. But we're going through those. We've got some guidelines that we're working towards, and we kind of evaluate whether it's meeting those guidelines or not. And then we either say yay or we say, unfortunately, this opportunity isn't available for you right now, but keep posted, because we do intend one day to open up that dev environment for everybody. We're just not there yet. So we ask for patience there. Or we ask them to revise their pitch and to go a different direction or to prove something that we're looking for. For us, we're not just looking at the content. We're also looking for the aptitude of the developer and their capabilities of reading instructions and following instructions and getting through this process with as little hand-holding as possible, just because we are resource constrained with the amount of business that's going on right now. So we look for those developers that really show that they know what they're doing, or they're willing to cooperate in an efficient manner to get that through. So if all of those stars align, then we kind of check the box and we move them through and we give them access, and they can access the forums and the white papers and order dev kits and on their way.
Do you recommend brevity in a pitch?
That helps, but it also, you need to convey, what's good about it, and it shouldn't be confined to just a couple of sentences or an elevator pitch. We've heard a lot of elevator pitches, and we've received a lot of full gameplay overviews and tech documents and walkthroughs that are way more information.
Yellow
than necessary.
pages showing up on this game. Yeah,
totally. So I think it's, we unfortunately can't share the guidelines. We can't really share a preferred template. It would be nice to have some sort of an awesome template that we could just say, fill all of this in, and then we can evaluate it. So maybe we'll get to that one day. But right now, I mean, what we've been saying is we put a heavy emphasis on partner curation versus content curation. We've been working really hard on that over the course of this last year. So working with trusted partners, indie publishers or developers that have already kind of proven themselves, and we entrust them to tell us what content is going to make sense for the platform. If it's a publisher like a Raw Fury or a Devolver or an Adult Swim, Chucklefish, Team
So
17, all
weird.
of them. Yeah, I
It's
mean,
gonna be weird and bloody and crazy.
Yeah. But I mean, there's
Neon colors.
yeah, pixelated,
Yeah,
gory,
yeah.
you know. But any of these publishers, you know, they've instilled a level of trust with us, and so then if they come to us and say, hey, this game is going to be perfect on Switch, but they're not signed up yet, can you help get them through? Then we do acknowledge that. And we're like, yep, no problem, we'll get you through. So that's also another way of, you know, getting your game through is establishing those relationships with some of those. There's so many indie publishers these days. Everybody is, even the major publishers are starting up
indie
their own
labels,
indie
yeah.
labels,
Yeah.
you know. So there are a lot of opportunities to work with some of those trusted partners that we have.
It's kind of become a meme of the whole when's it coming to Switch situation. Like, is that, do you see that as a good thing, or is it kind of stressful where it's like, man, like we just don't have the capabilities to do all of this?
I think it depends. I think it really depends on whether it's an experience that makes sense for Nintendo Switch. I think because a lot of these indie developers are making money off of the platform, then there's a rush to go to this hot new thing and try and take advantage of it. So no, I don't think everything makes sense to come over to Nintendo Switch. But I do think that if there's an experience, like the beauty of the platform is that if it's a console experience, this might be the first time that you can take it on the go. And if it's a mobile experience, maybe this is the first time that you can play it on a TV or play it with console controls. And so if it kind of bridges that gap, then there's a really cool opportunity there for that content.
At the Indie Mix here at GDC on Monday night, you know, for if you're, it's a few dozen different
Shoulder to shoulder in there.
yeah,
man.
indie games all there set up. It's an awesome event. I love it. It's one of my favorite things. And this year, every demo I would get would end with, and we also, you know, are going to be coming to this little guy, and they'd bust out this. Do you want to play the Switch version? With the Switch version, we haven't announced it yet, but and it's like everyone had their Switches and their games loaded because they're all so stoked.
That's the coolest way. I think of, if anything, that's the most brilliant element of being able to develop on Nintendo Switch.
Yeah.
Is you no longer have to bring like a PC rig or a huge 14-pound laptop with you everywhere you go at GDC. It's just like take it out of your pocket and you can show your game in the way that it's supposed to be seen. And it's
We had the Messenger folks come through, right? And their whole thing was like, well, we could bring the PC and wait, do you guys have a Switch dock there? Yeah. Oh, yeah, we got that. Oh, I was like, oh, great, perfect. Okay, great, thank you. Yes, that's way easier.
yeah, I love that game. Oh my God, Sabotage are yeah.
What's the most fun you've had playing a game on Switch?
The most fun I've had. I am a sucker for inclusivity. I love any game where you can play with a big group of people. So actually some of the most fun that I've had with Switch would be like nights with like Jackbox.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I've made enemies introducing people to Overcooked.
Oh, yeah.
But I've made a lot of friends introducing people to like Lovers in a Dangerous Space Time.
Yep.
Both of them are brilliant experiences, but it's you kind of have to read your audience as well in terms of like recommending a game. But yeah, I kind of the most fun that I have with Switch in particular is in playing multiplayer games in the same room.
Yep.
You mentioned Golf Story before. That game, I was sucked in. They actually use that term, I think, in the game. I was sucked in. For like the 20 hours straight in order to get from start to finish. You know, I just loved that game and totally got immersed into that kind of RPG golf mechanic. It was brilliant. So, you know, SteamWorld Dig 2 as well. Start to finish, I had to binge it like Netflix just to get all the way through to the end. I'm playing Night in the Woods at the moment as well and kind of binging on that as well. But I think in terms of fun, it's definitely playing with other people.
Yeah, I love that you said Jackbox. Absolutely. It's a wonderful combination of accessibility and in a couple of unique ways. Accessibility can mean a lot, but the idea that anybody on appropriate devices can jump in, anybody that's familiar with games or not so familiar with games can jump in.
Yeah.
It is, like you said, inclusive, and that's wonderful. You can do it almost anywhere. You can do it over a Skype chat. You can do it at a party, and it's lovely.
Yeah.
That's really cool. I appreciate that.
We were definitely like cheeks hurt from laughing over the
exactly.
course of that night. It was awesome.
So with the Switch being region free, does that affect indie games in any major way?
Yeah, because it's still region specific for digital content. You still have to log into like a regional eShop
store.
in order to access it. But it does allow for a lot more flexibility of access. The fact that we can do a single ROM submission, we do a global ROM, instead of you having to submit your game to 3 different regions in order to get it through is a huge time saver for developers. So that's really convenient. But in terms of the access, yeah, it's been, I think it's an area that we want to expand on as well. I think we are working on, how do we, or at least evaluating whether we can expand eShops, Nintendo eShops into other regions as well. But right now we see a lot of people kind of diving into it. The cool thing is that for the most part, the European and the North American releases are pretty much synced up. It's not like back in the day where there was like a huge 6-month gap between when a physical cartridge actually made its way or got localized over into other regions. So that's a lot faster process. And what's really cool is that Japan is really being a lot more proactive about embracing indie content, and our teams over there are really trying to bring over as much indie content as possible and digital-only content, because that's still kind of a newer market over in that region. So it's exciting to see them kind of jumping on board, and a lot of our developers over here localizing and being able to distribute in Japan for the very first time. That's pretty cool.
How's the split between physical and digital growing? Because you did a presentation at GDC a couple days ago. I saw that I thought was interesting.
Yeah. It's amazing. It's so geeky that I would appreciate this. But Nintendo has always been known as like, okay, you buy physical cartridges and you collect them, you hang on to them. But with Nintendo Switch, I mean, definitely on the third-party side, then our digital business is actually greater than the packaged goods business, which is what all of the major publishers are saying as well. You see the financial updates from EA, Take-Two, Ubisoft, Bethesda. Everybody is basically saying, yeah, our digital sales are greater than packaged. And that is awesome to see that reflected on Nintendo Switch as well. It means that we share a similar audience, which you would never really expect.
Yeah, that was the other cool thing during the presentation you did was you had the slides of like the Nintendo demographic and how you were talking about how it would be the kids that are playing for the first time or the adults that grew up with Nintendo.
Right.
But then you showed Karen, the woman from the original Nintendo Switch commercial, bringing the Switch to the party, and you were joking. It's like, I mean, dude bros and people at parties are now the demo from Nintendo as well.
I mean, I thought she was an asshole back in the time, in the day. I mean,
and now how many times have you been out at a party or an event and you're like, it's the commercial. The commercial has really come to life. It happens to me all the time.
A couple days ago, eating dinner at a restaurant, and like I look over and I'm like, I can't believe this is actually. I was like, they're playing Mario Kart right now.
Yeah, and they're the cool person. Like, how did that happen?
I am going to be Karen for Halloween this year. We're already working on the costume.
No, but I mean, like that's the thing about when we're talking about how the Switch works and where it excels and all this stuff. It is the fact that it goes with me anywhere I go, and I buy everything digital. I bought the biggest memory card I could. So now there's just dozens of games on my Switch for whatever mood you're in, or like when I'm getting ready for a flight, going to the eShop and being like, I've heard about this and I heard about that, and I'll do that and buy a whole bunch of different stuff. Just have there as this like smorgasbord when you get there.
Yeah. So, with this gold rush that we keep talking about of everybody trying to get on the Switch and like the Switch version sells better than everywhere else combined and all that, as pundits, we sit here and we're like, that's going to end eventually. What are your guys' thoughts on that? Like, do you have?
I hope not.
Of course not. But I mean, is there conversations happening to try to like maintain a way to keep that going?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. We want to keep that momentum going, and a lot of it has to do with can we add even more ways of promoting that great content and marketing it and creating visibility for that great content. First year. Really proud of the quality, the caliber of content that came through on Nintendo eShop. We have to keep that going, but then you add to that catalog. That doesn't go away. That's still there, and you still want people to know about, the best sellers and the best experiences that are on the platform. But you have to find ways of adding to that as well. So, I hope that people don't use it or expect that just because they release a title on Nintendo Switch, then automatically it's going to sell better.
Here come the big bucks.
Yeah, it's a lot more than that. They got to, especially this day and age with indie development, you have to put as much time into the marketing and the promotion of it as you do on the development side. And that's tricky. But when we find the things that we're passionate about and that we believe in, then we try and lend a helping hand there as well. And hopefully we can keep finding more opportunities to do that.
Cool.
Looking at the top 10 from last year of the selling games, was there any of those that you were like surprised at how well it did?
It's hard because I saw all those sales numbers on a regular basis, so it wasn't like a real big surprise. I was really happy to see so many of those titles because all of them I thought were deserving. I even spent a lot of time with NBA Playgrounds. I'm not gonna lie, but like all of those titles were great, and they were all unique experiences, and they were all cool. Actually, I met with Psyonix this morning, and they're a little bit hurt. They were like, I thought, I saw the list of indie titles, and I was like, dude, indies is like a self-declared term. I'm not going to assume that anybody is an indie because some people get offended by that. Some of the bigger publishers are like, they're definitely independent, but maybe they don't want to self-identify as being indie. So we try not to assume on any of that, but geez, Rocket League has killed it this year as well. So, I think we don't want to leave anybody out.
Cry me a river, Psyonix.
I know.
Get out of here, Jeremy Dunham. You're fine.
Who coined the term Nindy?
There was a person on Twitter that actually came up with the term.
Okay.
I can't remember his name, but when I saw it, I was like, I really want to use this. And so I reached out to him to get permission. And he was like, okay, that's cool. And I saved the tweet.
He's just like, never forget my name, though. Make sure you always reference me by name when you talk about this story.
Oh, I feel terrible. But I have it all saved and everything just for records. But I think that it was a great opportunity, especially during the Wii U days, for that community to kind of all rally around each other and support each other. I mean, we used to participate in the Indiecade show over in Culver City every year, which is a great show. And like a few years ago, I mean, we had this awesome indie presence there, and those developers still stay in touch. I mean, they're all like this super tight bond because they were one of the first groups of nindies that we kind of banded together and that we promoted them as a group. And it's really cool to see those relationships, build over time and stay true. It's so important in this industry. It's all about sharing, and sharing those ideas and that experience. And I'm glad that we've got that sense of community with Nintendo as well.
And it's definitely still going. Being at the demos a couple days ago, playing through all the new Nindies that were announced, like there is definitely a sense of camaraderie between all the different devs, and especially this like contingent of Montreal people where it's like there's
the
like
US needs to step up.
And it's cool. It's cool to see them kind of like band together and support each other's games. And me and Kev were playing a demo of one of the games, and people were like, no, if you like this, you got to go over there and play this other one. And it's like, it's cool where it is this idea of, maybe not everything's for everyone, but there's definitely a couple things there for you. What are you most excited for of the games that you announced this week?
They're all my babies. I'm not gonna choose just one. I mean,
I'll answer for you. Legacy, Luminous. All right.
Oh my
Brand new
gosh.
though out the gate. You got to go with Garage. Thank you, everybody. It's been a good Gamescast.
Garage looks great.
Both those games are brilliant. The trance vibration stuff and Luminous.
When I went over there and they were like, "All right," I'm like, "Ms. Gucci, all right, yeah, of course." Putting them underneath my legs, like, yeah.
It was funny. I mean, just even if you weren't there at the booth, every so often you'd hear this, "Ooh,
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you're
HD
not
Rumble,
if you're
man.
not familiar, remember when they Res was coming out for PSVR and they were showing the Res suit that had all the
trance vibrator. my
exactly.
friend.
Us all wearing and being goons. When I sat down to do the Luminous demo this time around, I'm a huge Luminous fan. They were like, "All right, cool." They gave me a belt that had 2 extra Joy-Cons in the sides. They gave me 2 extra Joy-Cons to put in my pockets, and then they gave me 2 extra ones to put underneath my legs while I sat down. That way, with the beat and the music,
Yeah.
and it would go, and it was like
It's so
I'm
good.
like, I can see me doing this. As a huge Luminous dork, I'm gonna do this when I get
When I lived in Japan, I had a couple of chances to buy the original Res Trance vibrator, but it was always used.
Oh.
And it came with a little like washable vibrator condom, and I just couldn't bring myself to purchase it, and I kind of regret that.
Yeah.
I really do.
I'm super stoked about The Messenger.
Yeah.
That's the game we did a Let's Play that if you're watching live, it's not live yet, but tomorrow it'll be live on Friday. Friday, it's going live to everybody. You can watch it. I'm absolutely in love with the game. It's so cool. It's a Ninja Gaiden-esque game. It's 8-bit, and then it turns 16-bit, and you have to solve platforms that way. The art style changes, the music changes. I cannot believe how cool that looks.
Full disclosure, my wife is doing brand and PR stuff for it.
Yeah. Brian Altano yesterday tweeted, he's like, "This is going to be the Shovel Knight of this year," and I'm like, "Oh, that's such a good way to put this." Like, I think that there's so much love, care, humor put into it. I had a blast playing it for the 30 minutes I did. Another one that me and Kev played was Just Shapes and Beats.
Oh yeah,
So good.
It's a rhythm shmup. Have you seen this?
No.
I feel like it'd be right up your alley as well. It's
What is this called?
It's called Just Shapes and Beats.
Oh, okay.
That's what the game is. Just some shapes and some beats.
All right.
And you can play up to 4 players, and you're these little shapes flying around shmup style, but it's all like the things are attacking you. It's all based on rhythm.
Oh yeah. I mean,
And it's really, really cool. Kevin was so bad at it. It blew my mind.
Kevin, it's
like
you're out there representing kind of funny.
No. For a sec, I was like, I'm not gonna play this. And then the dev, very nice guy, was like, come on. And I was like, honestly, I don't want to play this. I'm really bad at rhythm games. And Tim was like, yeah, he's really bad.
I really wanted to play because, of course, right up my alley.
And
So
Tim was
me,
like, just
me and
play.
Kev
Just
were waiting
play.
in line to play.
No one will just. I wasn't waiting in line to play. I was waiting in
You were
line
next to me.
Yeah.
Andrew, Renee, and Brittany from What's Good Games were playing in front of us, and I'm just watching super into it. Kev's back there talking shit, being like, every time they mess up, talking shit, and then we go to sit down.
Just when Andrea messes up because she's so good at rhythm games.
And then
She's famous for being good at rhythm games. We know that.
I
Is
love
that
it.
what she's famous for?
She is? Amplitude. Oh yeah, she's damn good.
I know she's good at it. I'm just saying.
Famous for it.
That's what she's
for it.
famous
It's true.
for? All right, my apologies. Okay.
I'm trying to see what else. Oh, Kevin, you played this one, Pudu? Puda?
Puda, but they're saying that it's just going to be called Pod.
Good. Okay, Pod. P-O-D-E is what it
Yes.
is. And it talks to people about it. No, it's okay for this.
I really enjoyed it. It's a co-op if you want it to be a game where you can switch whether you're this little rock guy or this light ball, like a little star. And I think that the story is that the light is a star that fell to Earth and is trying to get back up there, and the rock's helping him. But like they each have these little powers you can do, and it's just a fun little puzzle game that's beautiful. It's got a fantastic style and a lot of fun.
It's like a third-person snipper clips style game. Me and Kev played, and the accessibility is a big thing there, where there's a functionality where if you click in on one of the sticks, you can take control of the other one. So if you're playing with like a little kid, you don't need to
Or Tim.
So there's 2 ways to look at it. If you're playing with a little kid, you can like take control of them, and the idea behind that is it's kind of like no kid wants you to take the control and be like, oh, I'll do it for you.
Yeah.
But when it's part of the gameplay, it makes it feel a bit more like
Sure.
natural. But then there's the other side of when you're 2 grown men, you can just switch and mess around. Start walking like New Super Mario Bros. Style. Start walking towards a cliff and then switch characters so they keep walking. Or when you're Kevin, who just likes to play co-op puzzle games by himself,
Sure.
he'll just insist to do it all.
I'm just flashing back to my driver's ed teacher with his brake over on the other side of
totally.
the car.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh no. Oh.
But yeah, it was definitely, it was cool, and like it's those types of unique experiences and like gameplay enhancements that I'm like, I love that there's thought being put into this. So it's like anybody can play these games and have fun with them.
Yeah. I do love Bomb Chicken.
Oh my
Wow.
god,
That was a
Bomb
good one.
Chicken
That was a good
looks
one.
awesome.
Yeah.
It's
you play it?
Yeah, 2D
Yeah.
platformer where you're this fat little chicken that just lays bombs, and the bombs you can stack on top of each other. the simplest control scheme of all time. You can just move, and one button is bomb. There's no jump. The only way to jump is to bomb yourself up and go. And it is so cool. You can play with one. You can play with one Joy-Con, even like any button combination you want, because you can use the trigger to jump and then just move with the stick. And it's super funny looking and
Really cute
again,
art style.
puzzle based and fun. Kevin had a great time with it as well.
It sounds great.
Yeah, I liked it a lot from my demo.
Oh man.
Trying to think, see what else I played.
I mentioned it in passing, but Garage I really dug.
Yeah.
It's like what easiest pitch would be like. It looks like Hotline Miami. It's a twin stick shooter of you're stuck in you wake up in a garage and there are zombies and there are police and they're fighting each other and they're also fighting you now, like both the zombies and the police. So you're just marching through, getting ammo, getting health, trying to survive and figure out what's going on in this garage.
Yeah, it looks cool. Love the art style of that one. And Travis Strikes Again was playable at this. And I loved looking at it because it seems to me, from at least the bit that we saw, it's not exactly the same gameplay as the original No More Heroes, No More Heroes 2, but it is a bit more of a top-down perspective that I actually think fits the story and the gameplay style a lot better. So I'm very excited for that one. And then while we were there was the announcement that Hyper Light Drifter, Nidhogg 2 and Crashlands are coming, and Nidhogg 2. Let's go.
Yeah, especially with the Joy-Con share on that. That's that's a no-brainer.
Oh, yeah, that's going to be good.
Yeah.
All right, I promised that I would get you out of here by 4:30.
Shout out to West of Loathing as well.
West of Loathing was cool.
Asymmetric, yes.
No, our stick figure RPG. All right, yeah.
Yeah.
I played it at PAX a long time ago and really dug it, and then they broke my heart when they just said PC. But now it's coming to Switch. They listened.
Yeah. So we got to let you go. Do you have any final things to say?
No,
about
this is
anything?
an honor. I've been watching you guys forever. Congratulations on all your success.
Thank you.
How you guys are killing it these days. So thank you so much for thinking of me. This is really nice.
No, please. It's an honor that you came by. Thank you.
man.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I just slid in his DMs. That's literally how that happened. I'm happy this worked out as well as it did. But Damon, thank you very much.
No,
I'll let you go. Are we good on time? Everything good? Awesome.
We did it.
Great.
Good job.
We did it.
Yeah, nice job, Tim. What a host. What a host.
A winner is you.
There we go.
Winner is you.
Ladies and gentlemen, this has been the Kind of Funny Gamescast. Each and every week we get together, talk about video games, all things we love about them, and thank you for loving us doing that. Patreon.com/kindoffunnygames where you can get it early. You can watch it live. You can get the pre-show, the post-show, and all that stuff. What?
I was looking at the tabs. Pool Panic. I forgot about that. We didn't talk about Pool Panic.
Physics-based.
I saw that at Day of the Devs on the big movie screen. I was like, this is a trip. This is a weird
This is an Adult Swim.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. Until next week. I love you.
And everybody buy Luminous when it comes out, so we keep getting Luminous. It's the best puzzle game of all time.
Thank you guys for watching that. Click here to subscribe to Kind of Funny Games. Click there to subscribe to Kind of Funny. Click here to support us on Patreon, and click over here to watch more of Damon in the beautiful Nintendo Switch and Indies presentation for spring 2018.